Speaking test instructions. The speaking test is 20 minutes. There are 8 tasks in the speaking test. Please try your best to answer all the questions.
Start speaking now. Time is up. 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 Start speaking now. Time is up.
Nicole, I understand the frustration and embarrassment you're feeling about considering moving back with your parents at 30, especially when society often stigmatizes this choice. Nevertheless, the reality of housing affordability has changed dramatically, and many adults in their 30s are making similar decisions for sound financial reasons. First and foremost, moving back with your parents temporarily could allow you to save money for a down payment on your own property rather than continuing to pay increasing rent that builds no equity. Furthermore, the emotional discomfort of living with parents for a year or two is temporary, whereas the financial benefits of saving substantial money could impact your life for decades. Additionally, consider that homeownership or a strong savings foundation might be worth more to your long-term well-being than maintaining appearances about independent living during a difficult housing market. Moreover, many cultures around the world view multi-generational living arrangements as normal and beneficial, rather than embarrassing, suggesting that the stigma you're feeling reflects cultural attitudes rather than actual personal failure. Although living with parents requires adjustment and compromise regarding privacy and independence, these challenges are manageable with clear communication about boundaries and expectations. Consequently, you might negotiate specific terms with your parents about rent contributions, household responsibilities, and privacy that make the arrangement work for everyone involved. Additionally, framing this as a strategic financial decision rather than a failure to launch could help you maintain perspective and reduce embarrassment. Despite the social perception challenges, prioritizing financial security over appearances often proves to be the wiser long-term choice. Consider whether your pride is worth the thousands of dollars you could save, and whether true friends would judge you for making a financially responsible decision during challenging economic circumstances. 3 years ago, I had to break a significant commitment I had made to serve as the co-chair for a charity fundraising event. I had enthusiastically volunteered 6 months in advance and had been actively involved in the planning process when my father was suddenly diagnosed with cancer requiring immediate treatment. Furthermore, the treatment facility was located 4 hours away, and my mother needed support managing his care, medical appointments, and household responsibilities during this crisis. The timing was particularly terrible because the event was just 6 weeks away, and my co-chair was depending on me to handle major sponsorship outreach and day of logistics coordination. Additionally, I felt tremendous guilt about abandoning both the charitable cause I cared about and the people who had trusted me with this responsibility. Initially, I tried to continue managing both commitments by working remotely on fundraising tasks while traveling to help my parents. However, after 2 weeks, I realized this approach was unsustainable and was compromising both my effectiveness at the event planning and my ability to support my father during a frightening health crisis. To handle the situation, I had an honest conversation with my co-chair in the event committee, explaining my father's diagnosis and my need to prioritize family during this medical emergency. Moreover, I provided detailed documentation of all my work to date, introduced my replacement to key contacts, and offered to remain available for questions even though I couldn't continue active involvement. I also made a personal financial donation to the charity to demonstrate my continued support. Despite being unable to fulfill my volunteer commitment, the event was ultimately successful, though I know my departure created additional stress for others. This experience taught me important lessons about not overcommitting even with good intentions, the importance of honest communication when circumstances change, and accepting that sometimes family emergencies must take priority over other obligations despite the inconvenience to others. Most significantly, I learned that people are generally understanding and forgiving when you're honest about genuine crises rather than making excuses or disappearing without explanation. This engaging illustration depicts a traditional neighborhood garage sale taking place on a pleasant spring morning in a quiet residential cul-de-sac. Multiple families have set up tables, blankets, and display racks on their front lawns and driveways, showcasing an eclectic assortment of pre-owned items ranging from household goods to children's toys and vintage collectibles. In the foreground, a retired couple is arranging items on folding tables covered with checkered cloths, displaying kitchen appliances, glassware, and stacks of hardcover books with handwritten price tags attached. Meanwhile, bargain hunters are carefully examining the merchandise, with one woman holding up a decorative vase to inspect it in the sunlight while negotiating the price with the seller. On the left side, children have established their own entrepreneurial venture by operating a lemonade stand, complete with a hand-painted sign and a pitcher of freshly squeezed lemonade. Additionally, a young family is browsing through racks of children's clothing, holding up small garments to check sizes while their toddler plays with a toy fire truck from the selection. The background reveals more participants from neighboring houses contributing to the community sale, with some carrying items back and forth while others chat with familiar faces from the neighborhood. Furthermore, several shoppers are pushing strollers or pulling wagons to transport their newly acquired treasures. What makes this scene particularly noteworthy is how it exemplifies sustainable consumption practices and community interaction, where unwanted items find new homes. Neighbors strengthen social connections, and the circular economy thrives at the grassroots level. Initially, the neighborhood yard sale will continue attracting bargain hunters who browse through household items, books, and vintage dishware, whereas the elderly ladies will enthusiastically negotiate prices and share stories about their treasured possessions. Subsequently, families strolling through the street will stop at various tables to examine potential purchases, while simultaneously, the children operating the lemonade stand will likely experience a rush of thirsty customers seeking refreshment on this sunny day. Meanwhile, parents with strollers will presumably discover gently used baby items and clothing at remarkably affordable prices, and consequently, neighbors will engage in friendly conversations that strengthen community relationships. Furthermore, as word spreads about the exceptional deals available, more residents from surrounding blocks might arrive to participate in this communal shopping experience. Despite the casual atmosphere, sellers will carefully track their inventory and earnings. Nevertheless, many will prioritize finding good homes for their items over maximizing profits. In addition, some shoppers might return home to gather their own unwanted belongings for impromptu participation in the sale. In conclusion, this traditional neighborhood yard sale will serve multiple purposes beyond commerce, facilitating social connections, promoting sustainable consumption through reuse, and creating a festive atmosphere that brings the entire community together. Daniel, I understand your preference for trying home-based teaching methods before pursuing medical evaluation, but I believe getting a comprehensive professional evaluation represents the most responsible response to Sophie's teacher's concerns. First and foremost, if Sophie does have ADHD or another attention-related condition, early diagnosis and intervention can significantly improve her academic performance, social relationships, and long-term educational outcomes. Furthermore, professional evaluations provide objective medical and psychological assessment that can either confirm the teacher's concerns or rule out ADHD and identify other factors affecting Sophie's behavior and learning. Additionally, Attempting various teaching methods at home without professional guidance could mean months or years of Sophie struggling unnecessarily if there's an underlying condition that could be effectively treated. Moreover, comprehensive evaluation doesn't automatically mean medication. It simply provides information that allows us to make informed decisions about the best support strategies for Sophie's individual needs. Although the diagnostic process is expensive, consider the potential long-term costs if Sophie develops negative self-esteem, falls behind academically, or experiences social difficulties due to unaddressed ADHD symptoms consequently. Investing in proper evaluation now could prevent much more significant educational and emotional challenges later in Sophie's development. Despite the wait and monitor approach seeming more conservative, it essentially means allowing Sophie to continue struggling while we observe rather than proactively seeking answers and solutions. Additionally, if the evaluation reveals that Sophie doesn't have ADHD, we'll have peace of mind and can focus on other explanations for the behaviors the teacher has observed. Professional assessment provides clarity and direction rather than leaving us guessing about the best way to help Sophie succeed. Don't you think Sophie deserves a proper evaluation to understand whether she needs specific support rather than just hoping the problems resolve themselves? Daniel, while I appreciate your desire to get immediate professional evaluation for Sophie, I believe taking a wait and monitor approach represents the most measured and appropriate response to the teacher's concerns. First and foremost, teachers sometimes over-identify ADHD based on normal developmental variations or classroom management challenges, and rushing into expensive medical evaluations could lead to unnecessary diagnosis and treatment of behavior that might naturally improve with maturity. Furthermore, Sophie is only 7 years old, and many children at this age show varying attention spans and activity levels that don't necessarily indicate a medical condition requiring intervention. Additionally, waiting a few months to observe whether Sophie's behaviors are consistent across different environments and situations provides important information that makes any eventual evaluation more accurate and meaningful. Moreover, the wait and monitor approach doesn't mean ignoring the concerns. It means actively tracking Sophie's behavior patterns, communicating regularly with her teacher, and being prepared to pursue evaluation if problems persist or worsen. Although professional evaluation might eventually prove helpful, consider that once children are diagnosed with ADHD, they often carry this label throughout their educational experience, which could affect teacher expectations and Sophie's self-perception. Consequently, we should be certain that evaluation is truly necessary rather than rushing into diagnostic processes based on one teacher's observations during a particularly challenging academic period. Despite the comprehensive evaluation option seeming thorough, it could lead to a diagnosis that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy rather than reflecting Sophie's actual long-term abilities and behavior. The home teaching methods approach, while well-intentioned, assumes there's definitely a problem requiring intervention when we haven't yet established whether Sophie's behavior is actually outside normal developmental ranges. Don't you think giving Sophie time to mature while carefully monitoring her progress is more prudent than immediately pursuing medical diagnosis based on limited observations? Marcus, I need to share some serious concerns about your plan to accept this international position while maintaining your marriage long distance. First and foremost, while I understand this job represents an incredible career opportunity, your marriage to Emily should be the foundation that all other decisions are built upon, not something you're willing to compromise for professional advancement. Furthermore, 3 years of separation is not a temporary inconvenience. It's a substantial period that could fundamentally damage or end your marriage regardless of your current good intentions and commitment. Additionally, long-distance marriages face enormous challenges, including lack of daily emotional support, different life experiences that create distance, and practical difficulties that strain even strong relationships. Moreover, accepting this position knowing that Emily has clearly stated her unwillingness to relocate essentially prioritizes your career goals over her legitimate needs regarding her own career and family responsibilities. Although this job seems like a dream opportunity, consider whether it's truly your dream if achieving it requires sacrificing your marriage or putting your wife in an impossible position. Consequently, declining this opportunity and finding ways to advance your career locally demonstrates respect for your marriage vows and commitment to building a life together rather than parallel separate lives. Despite the professional disappointment, many successful people have declined opportunities that conflicted with family priorities and found alternative paths to career fulfillment. Additionally, if you pursue this position over Emily's objections, the resentment and distance created could mean you ultimately lose both the job and your marriage. Consider that true partnership requires both people to sometimes sacrifice individual opportunities for the good of the relationship. Don't you think preserving your marriage is more important than any single job opportunity, no matter how attractive it might seem? Mom and Dad, I need to talk with you about your concerns regarding Marcus's international job opportunity and your belief that he should decline it to preserve his marriage. First and foremost, while I understand you're worried about Marcus and Emily's relationship, this decision ultimately belongs to them as adults, and pressuring Marcus to decline could create resentment that damages both his marriage and his relationship with you. Furthermore, Marcus has worked his entire career toward this type of opportunity, and asking him to sacrifice his professional dreams for relationship convenience could lead to long-term regret and bitterness that ultimately harms his marriage more than temporary separation. Additionally, many couples successfully navigate long-distance arrangements for career opportunities, and with modern technology and planned visits, Marcus and Emily could maintain their connection while both pursuing important goals. Moreover, your suggestion that Marcus decline the job essentially validates Emily's ultimatum rather than encouraging them both to find creative compromises that honor both careers and life priorities. Although you're concerned about their marriage, consider that couples who can't find ways to support each other's professional growth often face deeper problems than geographic distance. Consequently, supporting Marcus's decision to accept this opportunity while encouraging him and Emily to work together on maintaining their relationship demonstrates respect for his autonomy and confidence in their ability to navigate challenges. Despite your traditional views about marriage requiring geographic proximity, modern relationships often involve temporary separations for career advancement that ultimately strengthen rather than weaken the partnership. Additionally, if Marcus declines this opportunity and later resents Emily or feels he sacrificed too much, that resentment could be more damaging to their marriage than any distance. Your role as parents should be supporting Marcus's thoughtful decision-making rather than imposing your preferences about how he should prioritize competing values. Don't you think trusting Marcus to make his own decisions about balancing career and marriage is more appropriate than pressuring him to choose based on your concerns? Mandatory retirement ages for all jobs would create more problems than benefits, though targeted retirement policies for specific physically demanding or safety-critical positions might be appropriate. First and foremost, forcing retirement based on age rather than capability wastes valuable experience, expertise, and human capital while discriminating against individuals based on chronological age rather than actual performance. Furthermore, many people remain highly productive and engaged in their work well beyond traditional retirement ages. And mandatory retirement deprives society of their continued contributions. Additionally, with increasing life expectancy and improved health, many older workers need or want to continue working for financial security, social engagement, or personal fulfillment beyond arbitrary age limits. Moreover, age-based mandatory retirement doesn't actually guarantee opportunities for younger workers, as employers might eliminate positions, increase automation, or restructure rather than simply replacing retired workers with younger employees. Although youth unemployment is a legitimate concern, the solution lies in economic growth, education reform, and creating new opportunities rather than forcing productive workers out of existing positions. Consequently, policies should focus on performance-based evaluations and career development opportunities for all ages rather than using age discrimination to artificially create job openings. Nevertheless, certain positions with clear physical demands or safety implications, such as airline pilots, firefighters, or jobs requiring specific physical capabilities, might justify age-related retirement policies when supported by evidence about age-related performance declines. Additionally, many countries with mandatory retirement ages have found that these policies don't significantly reduce youth unemployment and may actually harm economic growth by removing experienced workers prematurely. Therefore, rather than blanket mandatory retirement, society benefits more from flexible policies that allow capable older workers to continue contributing while supporting gradual transitions to retirement and creating genuine new opportunities for younger workers through economic growth and innovation. Rachel, I just saw the most amazing garden bench at Riverside Botanical Gardens that I think you'd absolutely love. While walking through the sculpture garden section with the family, I came across this extraordinary bench that's been designed to look like it's growing right out of the ground. The entire structure is made from intertwined metal vines and branches that create both the seat and the backrest, with realistic metal leaves sprouting from every surface. What makes this particularly striking is how the artists have incorporated actual living plants that weave through the metalwork. So the bench is part sculpture and part living garden. Furthermore, the seat portion features colorful mosaic tiles arranged in floral patterns that complement the surrounding flower beds perfectly. Not only is it incredibly comfortable despite its artistic appearance, but butterflies and small birds actually visit the integrated planters, making it feel like you're sitting inside nature itself. Unfortunately, the garden doesn't allow photography since they want to maintain a tranquil, phone-free environment for visitors. Given your expertise in unique furniture design and your recent project incorporating natural elements into urban spaces, I immediately thought you'd appreciate this fusion of functional seating and living art. I'm actually considering commissioning something similar for our backyard patio, and I was wondering if you might know any local artists or metalworkers who specialize in this kind of nature-inspired furniture. Do you have any contacts who could create something like this?